The U.S. cell phone market really dominated by two companies. AT&T Wireless and Verizon Wireless have more than 50% market share, expected by some to go as high as 60%. Not so in Canada, where the regulatory landscape is changing. Is that the next big front for Canadian and U.S. telecom M&A? Joining us now, Alek. She is founder and CEO of Public Mobile, a new cell phone company launching in Canada, and one that would like to maybe see some consolidation, except that the Canadian government, you think, isn't playing fair, and you have actually filed a lawsuit. What the heck is going on in Canada?
Well, look,
I thought you guys were peace-loving people.
We are generally very conservative, but we also believe in, a fair application of the rules. And what happened recently was one of the new entrants, Public Mobile, my company, is one of the new entrants. One of the other new entrants that's entirely backed by Egyptian money, was recently classified as Canadian-owned. And the government wants competition, which is good. We're not looking to overturn the decision that allows this company, GlobalLive, to operate. We just want to be treated the same way. We want to be able to bring on more.
So you have laws that prevent majority foreign ownership. In other words, Verizon Wireless couldn't go up and buy you right now. However, this Egyptian company has funded majority, a new Canadian company.
Correct.
And nobody has a problem with that.
Well, the government seems to have made an allowance for them. So we've asked the federal court to rule on this. What we're hoping is that the federal court will say, in fact, this is a change in the law. And if there is a change in the law, then our good friends south of the border, the Americans, can come up and invest in Canadian telecom. And that's what we want to see.
It would also help you, wouldn't it, raise money? Because again, you're invited, you would be inviting competition, but there's something in it for you as well, and be able to raise money from across the border. No question.
In fact, my two initial investors were Columbia Capital and MC Ventures, who are some of the early shareholders of Metro PCS, and we're sort of the Metro PCS of Canada in terms of the way we're going to market. We were actually told by the government that we wouldn't qualify with just a U.S. investment. So we brought on OMERS, one of the big pension funds in Canada, and we diluted ourselves and our American shareholders. And so we're just asking the courts to look at this and say, if we're going to allow Egyptian money, surely we should allow U.S. money to qualify as well.
Has anybody given you a rationale as to why they're allowing majority Egyptian ownership for this company, and yet Verizon Wireless or AT&T just can't go buy you?
You know what? They haven't given a good rationale, which is why we've gone to the federal court to ask for a view on this. What they've said is this stimulates competition. We think competition is great. We just want to make sure that we can have that same access to foreign capital that other players have.
Well, do the Canadian people realize, because again, your new company is aimed at providing lower cost cell phone service, but the cell phone service, broadly speaking, is quite expensive for Canadian citizens.
Well, it is. It is. In fact, 1/3 of Canadians don't have cell phones today, and that's because the average price per minute for a cell phone call in Canada is 50% higher than it is in the U.S. And it's controlled by 3 major players in Canada. And now that's all changing. So competition is good. None of us think that there should be anything done to stem competition. We just think we should have fair rules, and we should allow the Americans to come north and invest.
And as millions of Americans who travel to Canada every year, and they're going to find out for the Olympics, roaming is expensive as heck if you're a U.S. citizen going up to Canada. I don't mean this as an offense. I had better cell phone coverage in Mexico than I did in Canada.
I've actually heard some friends and colleagues from years gone by that live in Boston and New York and move to Toronto, and they actually keep their Verizon or AT&T phone with an area code from Boston or New York, and it's cheaper to be up in Canada with a U.S. number than to pay the exorbitant rates that we see in Canada. So we're going to be offering flat rate, unlimited talk and text, just like Metro PCS does in the U.S. It's the right model. It'll increase penetration. We just want to be able to expand as quickly as possible and grow as quickly as possible, and that requires more capital. So we'd love to see U.S. capital classified the same way. I mean, surely our government's intent is not to put Egyptian capital ahead of U.S. capital. That would be a travesty.
When will you know something?
It's probably going to be a number of months. We're not sure yet what the date is. The filing was last week, but I have a feeling they might fast track it.
And if it opens up, could you see an AT&T Wireless, maybe even a Sprint or a Verizon Wireless coming up and start plucking off Canadian cell phone companies?
Yeah, I think what you're going to see is a number of firms like ours actually start to consolidate the low end of the market, and then some of those large U.S. players will try to use us as a platform to make even more of a consolidation.
Alek, CEO of Public Mobile, thanks for coming down for us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Good luck with the lawsuit.
Great to see you, Alek.
Thank you.